Hello and welcome to the Market Advantage NBA podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He's Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Talking, of course, about some pricing differences between the two sites here. Rajon Rondo, $8,400 on FanDuel, $9,300 on DraftKings. I mean, I wouldn't say quietly, but he's surprisingly been one of the best players in the NBA over the past couple weeks, despite the fact that the guy just doesn't take very many shots. I mean, last game, just 12 total shot attempts. Made 6 of them, 63 fantasy points with 20 assists. That's his third or second time in the last 3 games he's had at least 18 assists. There's few players in the world that are playing better than Rajon Rondo, at least offensively. Defensively, I mean, never has, nor will he likely ever care. But he doesn't need to, especially with DeMarcus Cousins, doubtful for tonight. But I don't expect him to play, but we've also seen this before with Cousins where they say, doubtful, not going to play, and then last second they say, oh, by the way, he's back and he's good. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but just monitor this situation because we've seen weirder things happen with him. But either way, Rondo, especially at his FanDuel price, I mean, I'm not going out of my way to put him in cash games, but at his FanDuel price, I don't mind it, and I'll have a ton of him in tournaments. I mean, it's really hard not to. A guy that's not scoring dependent, that's scoring 40, 50, 60 fantasy points a night right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you think about it, with Durant, while he's been out, and we've been looking at Westbrook as a must-play, Rondo's been rivaling him each night for upside and, for a couple thousand less. I think it's a great spot because I think we've been riding the Rondo train for a while, and he's been giving us that nice high floor and ceiling. And I think tonight, another nice matchup against Milwaukee. I mean, it's really hard to fade him at this point, but full slate tonight, I'm definitely with you on him just being a tournament play.
Yeah, definitely got to consider, but certainly not a must with, I think it's 12 games on the slate tonight.
Yeah.
Difference here at shooting guard. This guy's a shooting guard on FanDuel, a small forward on DraftKings. Evan Fournier, $5,900 on FanDuel, $67 on DraftKings. Was an ugly situation all around for this team last time out. Blowout loss. Nobody really played in the fourth quarter. Now facing a improved Knicks team, but still not a team that you're really looking to avoid. And Fournier, I mean, didn't have a bad game for the amount of time that he played last time. 23 minutes, shot 4 for 5, had 18 DraftKings points. But at DraftKings, I'm not really enamored with him at all at 6,700. But I'll throw him in some tournaments on FanDuel. We see news coming out this morning now. Victor Oladipo going to come off the bench, so Fournier gets to move back to his more natural position at the 2 rather than playing a lot of time at the 3. So that should help him out a little bit as well. But, I mean, on this slate especially, this big of a slate, he's easily GPP only for me.
Yeah, especially on DK, he's just priced around too many other guys. I mean, Rudy Gay, just 7,000. Gordon Hayward, we're both liking tonight, just 6,300 on DK and still pretty cheap on FanDuel as well. So he's just priced way too similar to some of those guys with, a much stabler floor. And I think we like Fournier. He's been great to us this season, but definitely just a tournament play.
Yeah, and a couple other of small forward plays that have difference of prices. Of course, looking at the first guy who's kind of had this big difference for a lot of the season, it's getting closer. Carmelo Anthony is $9,100 on FanDuel, $84 on DraftKings. He's starting to creep back into his price on FanDuel being more manageable. I mean, it was almost $10K there for a while, and while most games he's giving you that upper 30s to mid 40s, he really hasn't shown any upside outside of really one game with that 52 fantasy points against New Orleans. So he's a guy that I'll throw in GPPs every once in a while, but on a slate like this, I have no problem with avoiding Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not a big Melo fan personally, nor DFS-wise. There's just 2 other guys. I mean, you're looking if Aldridge sits, you got to love Kawhi again at the same exact price on DK, so it's just an easy Melo fade tonight.
Yeah, easy. And Thad Young, another guy whose train we've been riding for a while, his price is really starting to creep up on DraftKings up to $7,100. 64 on FanDuel is a lot more manageable. Coming off of yet another 30-point fantasy point game, just 28 minutes, only took 8 shot attempts against Boston, ended up with 30 fantasy points there. That was his 4th double-double in his last 5 games. He's playing really well. Tough individual matchup for him against Serge Ibaka tonight, but not a guy that I'm going to be avoiding. Obviously, more so a play on FanDuel than on DraftKings for me, but still a guy that, I mean, he's been showing that nice high floor recently.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some tough, matchups the season he's been pretty well. I mean, you got to go back to the 11th when he scored less than 30 fantasy points. I mean, you're looking at consistency from Thad Young, and he's definitely looking like the secondary scoring option right now, behind Brook Lopez when the guards have a tough matchup, which will be the case tonight with Westbrook on Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving over here to center, no huge difference. Karl Anthony Towns, 6,900 on FanDuel, 74 on DraftKings. We saw him get a nice little price decrease after his last game, but it wasn't so much that he didn't play well. It was obviously more so foul trouble in that one. A guy that you and I both had a ton of, and recency bias likely going to keep some people away from him tonight, which is all the better for me because I'm not worried about it in any way. Matching up against Atlanta, I love playing big men against Atlanta. They can't rebound. They're undersized down low. Third worst rebounding differential in the NBA. Karl Anthony Towns still one of my favorite, if not probably my favorite, actually, price considered center tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped a 40 burger on Atlanta last time out, which has just been the trend this season. I mean, Atlanta just can't stop opposing centers at all, and Towns already showed that he can dominate this matchup as long as he stays out of foul trouble. But with his price, especially on FanDuel, where he's like the 14th most expensive center compared to DK, where he's, the 5th, I mean, you got to love him. I mean, the matchup's just too good not to lock him in.
Yeah, and then one more guy who does have a really good matchup if he does suit up, LaMarcus Aldridge, $6,800 on DraftKings, 78 on FanDuel. So once again, he's still very underpriced on DraftKings. Questionable for tonight. He sat out the last couple games. If he doesn't go, obviously, boost to Kawhi Leonard and company. If he does play, though, matchup with Dirk Nowitzki, he's essentially a similar type of player that can shoot from anywhere in the floor at the 4, but obviously a much younger, much better player at this stage. So really not that tough a matchup for him if he does end up going tonight. Obviously, Dirk doesn't play huge minutes anyway. I'd see some Dwight Powell, but that price difference is pretty significant. So if he plays, he's definitely a guy I'll be getting in some tournament lineups on DK.
Yeah, that's been the case all season where basically I haven't even touched Aldridge on FanDuel, but DK, his price makes him, kind of a lock sometimes, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. He's much too talented of a player to be under $7,000 here. So that's going to wrap it up for the Market Advantage podcast. Find us on Twitter at DFCafe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Got lots of other great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.